my dreams. There was a girl.
And you are?
Sandy.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. On today's video, well, the London Film Festival is still ticking on, and I was lucky enough to not only see my most anticipated film of the festival, but my second most anticipated film of the entire year, and that was Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. Thomasin McKenzie stars as a young fashion student named Eloise, who embarks off to London to study at college. She winds up renting a room from Diana Rigg's character, where all of a sudden at night, she finds herself transported into 60s London, living vicariously through the life of Anya Taylor-Joy's performer. But whilst it may all be soaked in neon light and jamming along to 60s rock and roll, Eloise soon finds herself haunted by the ghosts of the past. So I think it's safe to say that Edgar Wright has never made a bad film. Even the film that most people tend to put at the bottom of his filmography list, it's still flipping excellent. And because of that, it was kind of undeniable that I would go into Last Night in Soho with very high expectations. Did it meet said expectations? Sadly not. Is it a good film though? Absolutely. It should come as no surprise, Wright's direction for this film is practically faultless. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that this is probably his best directed film to date. His collaborative work with cinematographer Chung Hoon Chung transforms London into a maze of swanky nightclubs, dingy and treacherous alleys, and rooms drenched in neon light. It's London in a way that I've never seen brought to the big screen before, and what made it more effective was actually seeing the film just outside of Soho. Stepping out of the screening was almost like stepping into the film. The camera work is incredibly dynamic, as with all of Wright's films, but he doesn't lean too heavily on that hyperkinetic sense of editing that we've seen in his past films. One sequence in particular, where Eloise steps into a nightclub, is a literal masterclass in framing, staging, and just all-around filmmaking. I cannot stress to you how much I was in awe of that entire scene. Some of those classic Edgar Wright sensibilities are still there though, including a very keen ear for a damn good soundtrack. There are some pitch-perfect needle drops in this film, and there are plenty that I'm going to be downloading very soon. In terms of performances, leading the way is Thomasin McKenzie, who I feel is just going strength to strength in almost everything I see from her. As Eloise, she starts off quite timid and unassuming, but as the story unravels, her character growth is really well done, and she gives a captivating performance. Anya Taylor-Joy, despite what some of the promotional material may lead you to believe, is definitely a supporting role. And you don't need me to tell you how spellbinding she is in this film, but she is. Matt Smith gives a performance we rarely kind of see from him, so that was a refreshing change of pace. And the film also includes the final appearance of Dame Diana Rigg. She really brings it here, and there is a final shot of her character that I particularly found incredibly touching. So you may be thinking, Luke, you've just spent the last few minutes singing the film's praises. How come it didn't live up to the hype? Well, that would be because I have some critiques in regards to the film's story. As for the general sense of horror, Edgar Wright does a really fantastic job. It's original, it feels fresh, something that you wouldn't typically find in a generic studio model horror. And what I also liked was just this inescapable sense of dread everywhere that Eloise went. What didn't work so well for me was this underlying mystery that Eloise is trying to uncover. Whether it was because the screenplay didn't quite lay a good enough groundwork for this mystery to take hold of me, or that perhaps I just didn't click with it. But, I mean, some revelations completely took me off guard, came out of left field, and felt earned and warranted, whereas others felt perhaps a little unnecessary, too on the nose in some places. I don't want to say that the film's predictable, but there are predictable elements within the story. Last Night in Soho is far from Edgar Wright's best work, and falters with some of the plot threads and somewhat of too neat an ending, perhaps. But that being said, Where elements of the script may dip, the direction is some of the best I've seen all year. Visually, it's an absolute joy to behold, taking the city of London and bringing it to life like never before. The cast are all top notch, that soundtrack is amazing, and for the best experience possible, go and see it in the cinema. Overall, I'm going to give Last Night in Soho a 7 out of 10. Anyway guys, those were my thoughts on Last Night in Soho. Let me know, have you been lucky enough to see the film yet? What did you think? Or if you haven't yet seen it, are you looking forward to it? And my question to you, pretty basic one, what's your favourite Edgar Wright film? For me, it's got to be a toss-up between Hot Fuzz and Baby Driver. But what's yours? And as always, thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button, and if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.